The rain hammered the cemetery, each drop a cold accusation against the black umbrellas huddled around my father's open grave. I stood there, my heart a tangled knot of grief and fury, watching my brother Ethan broad-shouldered, smug, and dry under his oversized umbrella whisper to his wife about his inheritance. He hadn't shed a single tear. Not for Dad. Not for the man who'd raised us through storms far worse than this one. I was Clara, the younger sibling, the one who stayed when Ethan left. At 30, I'd spent the last decade caring for Dad's Parkinson's, his endless doctor visits, his quiet nights staring at old photos of Mom and us as kids. Ethan, 5 years older, had built a life in Chicago, chasing wealth and status, visiting only when guilt or holidays forced him. Yet here he was, at Dad's funeral, already staking his claim. The house, the business, it's all mine, he'd said that morning, his voice carrying the weight of entitlement. I clenched my fists, the muddy earth squelching under my boots, and wondered how he could be so blind to the truth. Mom stood beside me, her frail frame trembling under her shawl. At 68, she was a shadow of the vibrant woman who'd once held our family together. Her eyes, red-rimmed but steady, met mine. "Clara," she whispered. "He doesn't know?" I nodded, my throat tight. Ethan thought he'd won before the game began. But Dad's will locked away in a safe only Mom and I knew about held secrets that would unravel everything. The funeral was a blur of condolences and casseroles, neighbors offering platitudes while Ethan played the grieving son for the crowd. By evening, we gathered at the old family house, a sprawling Victorian that smelled of cedar and memories. Ethan wasted no time. "Clara, Mom," he began, standing in the living room like a king addressing his court. "Dad always said the business would go to me. I'll handle the estate. No need to drag this out." I stared at him, my anger bubbling. "You haven't been here, Ethan. You don't know what Dad wanted." His wife, Lila, a sharp-eyed woman in her mid-30s, smirked from the couch, her diamond earrings glinting. "Clara, don't make this harder than it needs to be," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Mom's voice, soft but firm, cut through the tension. "We'll meet with the lawyer tomorrow, Ethan. Everything will be clear then." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he nodded, assuming victory was already his. I excused myself, slipping upstairs to Dad's study, where his old typewriter sat, a relic of his days as a small-town publisher. I touched its keys, remembering the nights he'd told me stories of resilience, of family, of truth. "Clara," he'd said, his voice shaky but certain, "you've got my heart. Don't let anyone take that from you." The next morning, we drove to the lawyer's office in silence. Ethan sat in the front, scrolling through his phone, probably calculating the value of Dad's printing business. Mom and I shared the back seat, her hand squeezing mine. The lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, a wiry man in his 60s, greeted us with a solemn nod. His office was cramped, stacked with files, but the air felt heavy with anticipation. "Before we begin," Hargrove said, adjusting his glasses, "I need to confirm you're all here for the reading of Samuel Whitaker's will." Ethan leaned forward, eager. I held my breath. Mom's grip tightened. Hargrove opened a sealed envelope, pulling out a single sheet of paper. "Samuel left specific instructions," he said. "This will was updated 6 months ago, notarized and witnessed." Ethan's eyes gleamed, but I saw Mom's lips press into a thin line. She knew what was coming. The lawyer began reading. "To my son, Ethan Whitaker, I leave my gratitude for the years we shared and my hope that you find peace in your choices." Ethan's smile faltered. Gratitude. Hope. No mention of money or property. I felt a spark of vindication but held it in check. "To my daughter, Clara Whitaker," Hargrove continued, "I leave my home, my business, and all associated assets." You've carried this family with love and strength. It's yours to steward. The room spun. Ethan's face went white, then red. Lila gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. What the hell is this? Ethan roared, slamming his fist on the desk. This is a mistake. Dad promised me the business. Hargrove remained calm, handing him a copy of the will. It's legal. Ethan, your father was clear. I couldn't speak. The weight of Dad's trust settled on me, heavy but warm. Ethan turned to me, his eyes blazing. You did this, didn't you? You manipulated him. I shook my head, tears stinging. I didn't ask for this. Ethan, I just stayed. Mom spoke up, her voice steady. Your father saw who was here. Ethan. He saw who cared. Ethan's anger faltered, replaced by something raw shame. Maybe. Or regret. Lila grabbed his arm, whispering furiously, but he pulled away, storming out. As the door slammed, I looked at Mom. Did you know? I asked. She nodded. He told me last year. Said you were the heart of this family. I swallowed hard, overwhelmed. The house, the business, they weren't just assets. They were Dad's legacy, and he'd entrusted them to me. But this was only the beginning. Ethan wouldn't let this go, and I knew the fight was far from over. The days after the will reading were a storm of silence and rage. Ethan didn't call, didn't show up, but his absence felt like a predator circling. I moved through Dad's house now, my house feeling like an imposter. Every creak of the floorboards, every faded photo on the wall, whispered Dad's presence. I wanted to honor him, but Ethan's shadow loomed large. Mom stayed with me, her quiet strength a lifeline. We spent evenings sorting through Dad's things, old books, yellowed manuscripts, letters he'd written to us as kids. One night, I found a note tucked inside his favorite novel, To Kill a Mockingbird. In his shaky handwriting, Clara, truth is heavier than gold. Carry it well. I pressed the note to my chest, tears falling. He'd known this would be hard. Ethan's first move came a week later. A letter from his lawyer arrived, demanding a meeting to contest the will's validity. He claimed Dad wasn't of sound mind, that I'd coerced him. The accusation stung like a slap. I'd spent years changing Dad's sheets, driving him to chemo, listening to his stories through the fog of his illness. Coercion. I'd barely had time to breathe. I called Hargrove, my voice shaking. Can he do this? Can he take it all? Hargrove sighed. He can try, Clara, but your father's will is ironclad. He updated it with witnesses, a doctor's evaluation, everything. Ethan's fighting a losing battle, but he could drag this out. I hung up, my stomach churning. Ethan wasn't just after the money, wanted to erase my place in Dad's heart. The next day, I visited the printing business, Whitaker Press, a small operation Dad had built from nothing. The smell of ink and paper greeted me, familiar as childhood. The staff loyal to Dad for decades welcomed me with cautious smiles. He always said you'd take over, said Maria, the head press operator, her eyes kind but worried. What about Ethan? I didn't have an answer. That night, Ethan called. His voice was cold, calculated. Clara, let's settle this. Give me the business, and I'll let you keep the house. Fair split. I laughed. Bitter. Fair. You left. Ethan. You didn't even call him on his birthday. He hung up, but not before muttering, You'll regret this. The regret came faster than I expected. 2 days later, a local news blog posted an article, Local business heir accused of manipulating dying father. The byline was anonymous, but the details distorted but specific pointed to Ethan. My phone buzzed with texts from old friends, neighbors, even Maria. Is this true? They asked. My cheeks burned with shame, though I'd done nothing wrong. I confronted Ethan at his hotel, where he and Lila were staying. He leaned against the doorframe, smirking. You think you're the saint, Clara, People will believe what they want. Lila stood behind him, her arms crossed, silent but complicit. I wanted to scream, to shake him, but I saw something in his eyes: desperation. Maybe. Or fear. Why are you doing this? I asked. He looked away. Because it's mine. Back home, Mom and I strategized. He's hurting, she said, stirring her tea. He's always felt second to you in your father's eyes. I frowned. That's not true. But Mom's gaze was distant. He was jealous. Clara. Even as a boy. Your father tried to reach him. But Ethan built walls. I remembered Ethan's teenage years, his rebellion, his fights with Dad, his escape to college. Had I missed something? Hargrove called with news. Ethan had filed a formal challenge, claiming undue influence. The court date was set for a month out. We'll need evidence, Hargrove said. Letters, journals, anything showing your father's intent. I nodded, though my heart sank. Digging through Dad's life felt like losing him again. That night, I found a box in Dad's closet, filled with journals from the last 5 years. His words were a lifeline: stories of my visits, my laughter, my care. One entry, dated a year ago. Read, Clara's my rock. Ethan's my regret. I wish I'd known how to keep him close. My chest ached. Dad had loved Ethan, but Ethan couldn't see it. I showed the journals to Mom, who read them with trembling hands. He never stopped hoping Ethan would come back, she said. I nodded, wiping my eyes. But he trusted me to carry on. Mom hugged me, her warmth a reminder of why I was fighting. Not for money, but for Dad's truth. As the court date loomed, I prepared to face Ethan, knowing the battle would test us all. The weeks before the court date were a gauntlet. Ethan's smear campaign grew uglier: whispers in town, posts on social media, even a call to Maria implying I'd stolen Dad's trust. I stopped going to the grocery store. The pitying looks were too much. But I wasn't alone. Mom, Maria, and a few loyal friends rallied around me, their support a shield against Ethan's venom. I spent nights in Dad's study, poring over his journals. Each page was a piece of him: his pride in the business, his love for Mom, his pain over Ethan's distance. One entry stopped me cold. Ethan called today, asked for money. I said no, not because I don't love him, but because he needs to find his own way. I traced the words, my heart breaking. Ethan had been reaching out, but not for Dad, for his wallet. Hargrove helped me organize evidence: Dad's journals, medical records proving his clarity, witness statements from neighbors who'd seen me care for him. It's strong, Hargrove said, but Ethan's lawyer is sharp. Be ready for anything. I nodded, though fear gnawed at me. What if Ethan twisted the truth enough to win? The night before the hearing, Mom cooked Dad's favorite meal: pot roast, heavy with rosemary. We ate in silence, the weight of tomorrow pressing down. Clara, she said finally, whatever happens, you've honored your father. I squeezed her hand, grateful but terrified. Ethan wasn't just fighting for money. He was fighting to rewrite our family's story. The courtroom was small, sterile, nothing like the drama of TV trials. Ethan sat across from me, his suit crisp, Lila beside him like a guard dog. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, called the session to order. Ethan's lawyer, a slick man named Carter, went first, painting me as a scheming daughter who'd manipulated a dying man. Clara Whitaker isolated her father, Carter said, ensuring she alone controlled his decisions. I wanted to scream. Instead, I sat still, letting Hargrove counter. He presented Dad's journals, the doctor's reports, a video Dad had recorded 6 months before his death. In it, Dad's voice was weak but clear: Clara's my choice. She's earned it, not through tricks, but through love. The courtroom was silent, but Ethan's face twisted, like he'd been slapped. Carter cross-examined me, his questions sharp. Did you ever suggest changes to your father's will? I met his gaze. Never, He made his own choices. Carter smirked. Convenient. Since you got everything. I leaned forward. I got everything because I stayed. Where was Ethan? The judge's gavel stopped me. But the point landed. Ethan took the stand next. His voice steady but rehearsed. My father promised me the business when I was a boy. Clara turned him against me. Hargrove pounced. When did you last visit your father? Mr. Whitaker. Ethan hesitated. A year ago. Hargrove held up a journal. This says you visited twice in 5 years. Both times asking for money. Is that correct? Ethan's silence was deafening. The judge adjourned for the day, leaving us in limbo. Outside, Ethan cornered me. You think you're better than me? He hissed. You're just a martyr who lucked out. I stepped closer, my voice low. I didn't luck out. Ethan. I showed up. He flinched. And for a moment, I saw the boy who'd once shared his Halloween candy with me. Then Lila pulled him away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered to Dad's study, finding a photo of us as kids, Ethan pushing me on a swing. Both of us laughing. Had I failed him somehow? Had Dad? I tucked the photo away, resolving to fight not just for the will, but for whatever was left of our family. The next day, Hargrove dropped a bombshell. He'd found a letter Dad had written to Ethan, never sent, tucked in the back of a journal. Ethan, it read, I love you, but you've chosen a path I can't follow. The business is Clara's because she's carried its heart. Come home, not for money, but for us. I cried reading it, knowing Dad had wanted reconciliation, not division. Hargrove planned to present the letter in court, but I hesitated. It could crush Ethan, but it might also reach him. Use it, I told Hargrove, my voice trembling. It's what Dad would have wanted. As we prepared for the final day, I felt the weight of Dad's truth, hoping it would be enough to end this war. The final court day dawned gray, the sky heavy with unshed rain. I dressed carefully, choosing a simple blue dress Dad had always liked. Mom held my hand as we entered the courtroom, her presence a quiet anchor. Ethan sat with Lila, his face unreadable, but I noticed the bags under his eyes. He wasn't sleeping either. The judge called for Hargrove to present our final evidence. He stood, holding Dad's letter to Ethan, its edges worn from my restless hands the night before. This letter, Hargrove said, was written by Samuel Whitaker to his son, Ethan, 1 year ago. It clarifies his intentions beyond doubt. He read it aloud, his voice steady but laced with emotion. Ethan, I love you, but you've chosen a path I can't follow. The courtroom felt like a held breath. Ethan's head bowed, his hands gripping the table. Lila whispered something, but he shook her off. I watched him, my heart torn between pity and resolve. Dad's words weren't just a defense of the will, they were a plea for Ethan to see what he'd lost. Carter objected, calling the letter hearsay, but the judge overruled. It's relevant to the deceased's state of mind, she said. Hargrove followed with testimony from Dad's doctor, who confirmed his mental clarity, and Maria, who recounted my years of devotion to the business. Each word built a wall Ethan couldn't climb. When Ethan's turn came, Carter called a surprise witness, a former employee who claimed I'd badmouthed Ethan to Dad. The accusation was flimsy, the witness nervous, and Hargrove dismantled him on cross-examination. Did Clara ever ask you to lie about Ethan? Hargrove asked. The man stammered. No. The room felt warmer, the tide turning. The judge called a recess, and I stepped outside for air. Ethan followed, alone this time. Clara, he said, his voice rough. Did Dad really write that letter? I nodded, pulling it from my bag. Read it. He took it, his hands shaking, and scanned the words. His shoulders sagged. He thought I didn't care. He whispered. I wanted to comfort him, but the years of his absence held me back. You can still change that, I said. He walked away without answering. Back in court, the judge delivered her ruling, The will stands. Clara Whitaker is the rightful heir. Ethan didn't react. His face a mask. Lila stormed out. But he stayed, staring at the floor. I felt no triumph. Only a hollow ache. I'd won. But at what cost? After Mom and I returned home, exhausted, we sat in the kitchen, the letter between us. He's still your brother, Mom said. I nodded. But the gap between us felt unbridgeable. That night, I dreamed of Dad. His smile warm. His voice clear. Fix what you can. Clara. The next morning, Ethan showed up at the house. Unannounced. He looked smaller. His arrogance gone. I read the letter again. He said, I didn't know he felt that way. I waited. Unsure. Clara, I don't want the business. I just wanted to feel like I mattered to him. His voice broke, and I saw the boy from the swing again. I took a deep breath. You mattered, Ethan. But you hurt him by leaving. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Can we talk? Not about the will, just us. I hesitated, then nodded. Come in. We sat in Dad's study, the air thick with memories. Ethan talked about his life in Chicago, the pressure to succeed, the fear of failing Dad. I listened, realizing how much we'd both lost in our silence. I'm sorry, he said finally, for everything. I didn't forgive him not yet, but I felt a crack in the wall between us. As he left, he paused at the door. Can I come back tomorrow? I nodded. Bring coffee. He smiled. A small, fragile thing, and I felt a flicker of hope. Dad's truth had broken us, but maybe it could start to heal us too. The business waited. A legacy I was ready to carry. But first, I had a brother to reclaim. The coffee Ethan brought the next morning was terrible, bitter, and cold, like the years between us. But he showed up, and that was something. We sat in the kitchen, the same table where Dad used to read us stories, and talked. Not about the will, not about the fight, but about small things, his dog in Chicago, my late night runs to the pharmacy for Dad. It was awkward, like learning to walk again, but it was a start. Over the next week, Ethan visited daily. He didn't bring Lila, and I didn't ask why. We sorted through Dad's things together, laughing over his terrible fishing hats, pausing over letters he'd written to Mom in their early years. One afternoon, Ethan found a photo of us at a county fair, him holding a giant stuffed bear he'd won for me. I forgot about this, he said, his voice soft. I touched his shoulder. I didn't. But the piece was fragile. Lila called me one evening, her voice sharp. You're turning him against me, she accused. He's obsessed with fixing things with you. I sighed. Lila, this isn't about you. It's about family. She hung up, and I wondered how much of Ethan's greed had been hers. The business demanded my attention. Whitaker Press was struggling outdated equipment, tight margins. Maria and I met with suppliers, brainstorming ways to modernize without losing Dad's vision. Ethan offered to help, surprising me. I know marketing, he said. I could get us new clients. I hesitated, remembering his demands at the funeral, but his eyes were earnest. Okay, I said, but it's my call. He nodded, and for the first time, I saw him as a partner, not a rival. We worked late, drafting pitches, laughing over pizza when a typo turned press into princess. It felt like the old days, before life pulled us apart. But I wasn't naive. Trust would take time. One night, Ethan brought up the will. I was wrong, he said, staring at his hands. I thought Dad owed me, but I owed him. For everything I didn't do. I swallowed hard. He loved you, Ethan. He just didn't know how to reach you. He nodded, tears falling. I want to make it right. Clara. For him. For you. I believed him. But Lila was a wild card. She showed up unannounced a week later, her face a storm. You're stealing him, she said, glaring at me. Ethan stepped between us. Lila, Stop. This is my family. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. You'll regret this. She spat, storming out. Ethan looked at me, apologetic. She's complicated. Complicated was an understatement. The next day, a new article appeared online, accusing me of bribing Maria to lie in court. The source: anonymous, but Lila's fingerprints were all over it. Maria was furious, threatening to quit. I won't let her ruin this, I told her, my resolve hardening. I called Hargrove, who suggested a defamation suit. It's risky, he said, but it could stop her. I talked to Ethan first. Lila's hurting us, I said. He rubbed his temples. I know. I've been blind to it. He promised to handle her, but I saw the strain in his eyes. That night, I found another of Dad's letters. This one to both of us. Family is work, but it's worth it. Don't let pride tear you apart. I slipped it under Ethan's hotel door, hoping it would strengthen his resolve. The next morning, he called. Lila's gone back to Chicago. I told her we need space. His voice was heavy, but certain. I exhaled, relieved but cautious. You okay? I asked. He laughed. Brittle. Not yet, but I'm trying. We threw ourselves into the business, Ethan's ideas breathing new life into it. He stayed in town, renting a small apartment, and Mom started joining us for dinner. Slowly, we were rebuilding not just the press, but us. Yet I knew Lila wasn't done, and the shadow of her anger lingered, a storm waiting to break. The press hummed with new energy. Ethan's marketing brought in 2 big clients, and Maria's team upgraded the printers with a small loan I'd secured. For the first time since Dad's death, I felt like I was building something, not just holding it together. But Lila's shadow lingered. Her article stopped, but her silence felt like a coiled snake, waiting to strike. Ethan and I grew closer, our conversations deeper. One night, over beers in the backyard, he admitted, I was jealous of you, Clara. Dad always lit up when you were around. I shook my head. He lit up for you too, Ethan. You just weren't there to see it. He looked away, the stars reflecting in his eyes. I'm here now, he said. I smiled, but a part of me braced for the next blow. It came faster than I expected. A week later, Hargrove called. Lila's filed a lawsuit against you and Ethan, claiming emotional distress and defamation. I laughed, incredulous. She's suing us. Hargrove's voice was grim. She's claiming Ethan's abandonment and your manipulation ruined her life. It's weak, but it'll cost you to fight. Ethan, when I told him, looked gutted. This is my fault, he said. I grabbed his arm. No, it's hers. We fight this together. We met with Hargrove, who laid out our options, settle or go to court. Ethan wanted to settle, to end it, but I saw the fire in Mom's eyes. No, she said. Lila's trying to break us. We don't bend. I agreed, though the thought of another legal battle exhausted me. Hargrove prepared a countersuit, citing Lila's smear campaign and its impact on the business. The weeks before the hearing were tense. Ethan moved into the guest room, his hotel lease up, and we worked side by side at the press. He was good, better than I'd expected, his charm winning over clients. His ideas sharp. But Lila's lawsuit hung over us, a reminder of how fragile our progress was. One evening, Mom found a box of Dad's old recordings cassettes from the 90s, when he'd dictate ideas for the press. We listened, his voice filling the room, warm and alive. One tape was different, a message to Ethan, recorded 2 years ago. Son, Dad said, I know you're chasing your dreams, but don't forget where you started. This family needs you. Ethan cried, his head in his hands. I failed him, he said. I hugged him. You're here now? That's what matters. The hearing arrived, a smaller affair than the Will dispute. Lila sat alone, Her lawyer, a nervous young man outmatched by Hargrove. She claimed Ethan's betrayal and my interference had cost her emotionally and financially. Hargrove dismantled her case, presenting her articles, texts she'd sent Ethan threatening to ruin me, and Dad's recordings. "This is a vendetta," Hargrove said, "not a claim." The judge, a different one this time, was unimpressed. "Mrs. Whitaker, your actions suggest malice, not injury." She dismissed Lila's case and awarded us legal fees. Lila's face crumpled, but she didn't look at Ethan. As we left, he whispered, "It's over." But I knew it wasn't, not for him, not for their marriage. That night, Ethan told me he was filing for divorce. "Lila's not who I thought she was," he said. "I stayed too long, trying to prove something to Dad, to myself." I nodded, understanding the weight of proving yourself to a ghost. "Stay here," I said. "Help me run the press. Be family again." He smiled, weary but real. "I'd like that." We celebrated quietly, Mom cooking Dad's pot roast again. The house felt fuller, warmer, like it was waking up. But as I looked at Ethan, laughing with Mom over old stories, I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. We'd won the battles, but the war for our family was just beginning. Spring came, and with it, a fragile new normal. Whitaker Press thrived, its old machines humming under new contracts Ethan and I secured. He was all in now, his Chicago life a fading memory. The divorce papers were filed, Lila gone for good, her venom spent. But the scars remained in Ethan, on me, on the family we were rebuilding. We started a tradition, Sunday dinners at the house. Just Mom, Ethan, and me. We'd cook, laugh, tell stories about Dad. One night, Ethan brought out a letter he'd written to Dad. Unsent, like Dad's to him. "I'm sorry I wasn't here," he read, his voice breaking. "I'm trying to make it right." Mom cried, and I squeezed his hand. "You are," I said. The business became our bridge. Ethan's marketing flair complemented my steady hand, and Maria joked we were Sam's dream team. But it wasn't just about profit. We printed a local author's book, a passion project Dad would have loved, and dedicated it to him. At the launch, Ethan spoke, his voice raw. "This is from my father, who taught us that family and work are one when you do it with love." The crowd clapped, but I saw Dad in Ethan's eyes. Proud. Mom's health faltered, she was tired. Her hands shakier, but she smiled more, watching us together. One afternoon, she gave me Dad's old watch, its face worn but ticking. "He wanted you to have this," she said, "and he'd want Ethan to have his ring." She handed Ethan the gold band Dad wore daily. Ethan slipped it on, his eyes wet. "I'll earn it," he said. Not everything was perfect. Ethan struggled with guilt, I with the weight of Dad's trust. Some townsfolk still whispered about the will, the lawsuits, but their voices faded as we proved ourselves. One day, a package arrived, an old journal of Dad's, sent by a cousin who'd found it. Inside was a final note. "Clara, Ethan, you're my heart. Split 2 ways. Forgive each other. Keep going." We read it together. The words a balm. Ethan looked at me. "I'm glad you fought for this, Clara." I smiled. "I'm glad you came back." We hugged, the kind of hug that stitches wounds. And I felt Dad's presence, steady and warm. The press grew, and so did we. Ethan started mentoring a local kid, teaching him design, echoing Dad's way of giving back. I took up gardening, tending the roses Dad loved, finding peace in their quiet growth. Mom joined us when she could, her laughter a gift. One Sunday, as we sat around the table, Ethan raised his glass. "To Dad," he said, "and to us, for finding our way." Mom and I echoed him, our glasses clinking, the sound bright against the evening's hush. The house, the business, the family, they were ours. Not because of a will, but because we chose them. As I looked at Ethan and Mom, I knew the truth Dad left wasn't just in the will, it was in us. In the work of healing. In the love we'd nearly lost. We'd been broken, but we were mending. One day, one dinner, one memory at a time.